Hey everybody, I'm Katie, and welcome to Head of the Class. I'm joined today by Mrs. Carolyn Ricker, one of Freedom Project Academy's elementary teachers. Mrs. Ricker, you earned a degree in elementary education and decided that teaching would be your career. Tell us about this passion behind the career.
Well, for as long as I can remember, I wanted to be a teacher. Even throughout high school, I was doing things to just put myself in the way of kids, whether it would be babysitting or teaching classes in my church. Just always trying to find a way to get some experience with teaching. And I did go to college. I ended up in a public school setting. I didn't stay there long. I came home and had my own children and decided to homeschool. And so my journey has probably been fairly unexpected. I really was thinking I was just going to be an elementary teacher and teach in a school, and it hasn't really worked out that way. But it's been a good journey for me.
You teach our oldest elementary students who can get a little rambunctious at times, but I guess that would also make teaching quite interesting. How do you arrange your classroom and engage with students in the online setting?
Yeah, online is a little different. We do a lot of breakout rooms in fifth grade, and that works really well. Breakout rooms are where the kids they go into a little separate space in our classroom, and they work on whatever work I have for them. It's probably 2 to 3 times a week, but they're old enough. I love fifth grade, first of all. I don't find them to be too rambunctious, but they are really willing to engage. We are able to do a little more discussion, especially centered around our novels. And I try to have time. Every class has a time of question and answer where kids are participating. I'm fairly routine. I have a list and I go through my list, and everybody gets a turn throughout the class. Lots of times more than once. They're engaged in answering questions, sometimes just an oral answer through their microphone. Other times they're working things out on the board, especially for arithmetic. And probably I try not to do a lot of lecture style, but even when we are doing lecture, they are participating. They're filling things in a notebook at home, coloring for geography, doing some map work. So usually there's a lot that they are doing in our 2 hours together.
Now, teaching is a never-ending job, but when you do get some free time, what do you like to do?
I'm at the gym quite a bit. I enjoy working out. I love to kayak in the summer and snowshoe in the winter. Snowshoe is dependent on the weather, so we've had snow this year, but haven't gotten out a lot. And I actually love to do home projects. Usually my husband and I work on those together. We have an old house, so we're constantly fixing it.
Now, before joining FPA, as you said, you homeschooled your children and you do have experience teaching in the public school. So what specifically made you want to teach at FPA?
Well, my first involvement with FPA was as a parent. Both of my children took classes throughout high school with FPA, and it is a unique environment. I think for me, it's a really good match because I'm still serving homeschool families, and I feel pretty strongly about homeschooling, and it's a way to support other people in that endeavor. And I think our philosophies are a good match for education. I realized that I probably wouldn't be able to go back into public education, given what I had learned through my homeschooling years, and just how my beliefs have changed over 20 years of being at home with my own children.
Before we wrap up, it's time for a quick fire. So answer the following questions as quick as you can. First, we're going to start with, what are 5 words to describe you?
Well, I'm organized, fairly disciplined, busy. Like my family would say, I'm busy. I have a unique ability to fill my time even when it's free. I I'm not sure. I try to be content, I guess, in all things. I'm not sure I'm totally an optimist. Maybe that's a goal. And fun. I think I can be fun.
All right. What are 4 book recommendations, or what are your 4 favorite books?
I love books. I I do a lot of reading in my spare time. But my favorite books tend to be children's books. I love Anne of Green Gables and I love Tom Sawyer, and I think I love them because of the characters. Though I think if I had to parent one of those children, it probably wouldn't be as enjoyable. But I love their spirit and their individualism. Where the Red Fern Grows is another favorite of mine. Though when kids ask me why, because it's not a happy book, I just loved it as a kid, and I've read it several times. And I don't tend to reread books. I like to move on to something new. Certainly the Bible, I think probably so much wisdom there. I try to be in that every day. Was that 4?
You did
3?
say 4. You did say 4. We'll go with those 4. All right. If you could have 3 dinner guests, they can be historical or living, presently, who would you pick?
Oh, well, my top dinner guest would be Jesus. I have so many questions to ask and so much to learn. So that might be cliche, but I would definitely want to invite Jesus for dinner, and I hope he'd stay longer. Maybe Abraham Lincoln. I think that he was he had so many conflicting things to deal with and a unique time of history. I'm drawn, I think, to that time period in history. Third one. I don't know, maybe a family member that I never was able to meet. My grandfather. I had a grandfather who died before my mom was ever married, and it would be really neat to meet him. So.
Sounds good. How about what are your 2 favorite subjects to teach?
Oh, I love arithmetic. I love numbers and mathematics. So I do really enjoy teaching that. This is funny to me because I actually love our science, but it was never my favorite subject in school. So I teach anatomy and physiology, and we are just constantly finding ways that that God has designed our bodies, and it's so exciting to do that with the kids every year because they are in awe, and that's really fun to watch them see the complexities and be amazed by what God can do and what we can do. We just finished studying the brain, and it's really neat to watch them be amazed again about that. So those are probably my favorites.
All right. And finally, what's one piece of advice you have for your students?
I think if I would advise them certainly to be mindful of biblical ideals. I would encourage you to seek truth in your life, and also in their life journey, find something that really makes you happy. In your endeavor. Like I love teaching because I love children, and some days are more difficult than others, but I would encourage them to find something that they really enjoy and pursue that.
All right, Mrs. Ricker, thank you so much for being here. Learn more about our fantastic teachers and Freedom Project Academy at fpeusa.org.